Hey guys, this is Miss Griffin from Mansfield Elementary, and I'm going to teach you a lesson today on how to use a distance scale on a map. So distance scales are these great little tools that help you figure out how far apart things are on a map in real life. Maps can't be made to be the size of the actual places that they show. They can't make a map of Louisiana that's the same size as Louisiana because we'd all be living underneath it and we wouldn't be able to read it. So they have to shrink it down or scale it down to put it on a piece of paper so you can see the whole state at one time. But we know on a piece of paper, Shreveport and Monroe look like they're about 2 inches apart, but in real life, they're not. So cartographers, that's what we call map makers, cartographers made this really good tool for us called a distance scale. So we're going to use a distance scale today to figure out how far apart places in Louisiana are from each other in real life. You ready? Okay, so the first step when you're using a distance scale is to use a piece of paper to help you that has a straight edge. That makes things a lot easier. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting the corner of my paper on the first city that I want to measure. So that means that I'm going to start with Shreveport. And then I'm going to make sure that my paper goes in a completely straight line so that it touches the dot for the city of Monroe. And then I'm going to make a mark on my paper. All right, so now that I know where both cities are on the map, I'm going to take my paper and I'm going to move it down to the distance scale. I'm going to put the beginning of the paper at the 0, and then I'm going to find the end of the scale. And you see in this instance, Monroe is still all the way over here, but my distance scale has ended. So I'm going to make a mark, and I know that this scale measures 50 miles at a time. So I'm going to write 50 right there, okay? Then I'm going to take this, and it's like this is a ruler, but my ruler stopped. So I need to measure the rest of this. So I'm going to move my mark down to the 0 and start over at the beginning of the scale. So now this is 0, this is 50, but Monroe is right before the end of the scale. So I'm going to say that that's about, I don't know, let's say 49 miles, okay? So to get the total distance from Shreveport to Monroe, I'm going to add those two numbers together. So 0 plus 9 is 9, 5 plus 4 is 9. So the total distance from Shreveport to Monroe is 99 miles, okay? And then I'm going to write that was actually number 4 on my worksheet. I'm going to write 99 miles. Okay, so let's try some of the other problems that are on this map. You can just find another corner of your paper to use. This one says, let's measure the distance from Baton Rouge to Lafayette. Okay, so here is Baton Rouge, that's the capital of Louisiana, and there's Lafayette. All right, so let's find the next corner of our paper. I'm going to put the corner at Baton Rouge. I'm going to line my paper up so it goes straight to Lafayette, and I'm going to mark where Lafayette is on the side. Okay, then I'm going to take it down. I'm going to compare it to my scale, and you can see that Lafayette looks like it's just over 50 miles from, so this is Lafayette and this is Baton Rouge, and that was 50. You see that little tiny piece that's left? Let's compare that to the scale, and let's say if we're working with a fraction, maybe that's 1/5 of the scale, so 1/5 of 50 would be 10. So let's say that's 10 miles. So then we've got 60 miles. 50 plus 10 is 60 miles. So we're going to put right down here 60 miles. Okay, let's do another one together. From Lake Charles to New Iberia. Okay, so here we have Lake Charles. I'm going to put the corner on that dot, and then New Iberia is right there. So I'm going to move my paper around until I have a straight line from Lake Charles to New Iberia, and I'm going to make my mark. Then I'm going to take it down here to the scale. The scale ends right there, so I'm going to put a 50. Then I'm going to move it down. Now, that looks like it's over halfway, because half of 50 is 25. That looks like it's about maybe 35. So we could say 50 plus 35, if we add those together, 0 plus 5 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8, 85 miles. Okay? Okay, and just in case, let's do one that's really far. Let's try Shreveport to Lafayette, okay? So Shreveport, and this one's not on the bottom, I'm just making this one up, okay? My corner's at Shreveport. I mark where Lafayette is, and I come down here, okay? So I put it down, there's the end of my scale, so that's 50 miles. I scoot it down back to the beginning and mark the end of the scale again. That's another 50 miles. I scoot it down, mark it again. That's another 50 miles. I scoot it down, and this time I don't get all the way to the end. So let's call this 40 miles. But now we have to add all of those numbers together to get the distance. So that was 50, 50, 50, and 40. Okay, so this is for all you math nerds. This is maybe fun for you guys. Probably wasn't fun for me when I was in 4th grade, but anyway. Okay, so we have all these zeros here, so we just bring those down. And then we've got 5 plus 5 is 10, plus 5 more is 15, plus 4 is 19. So it is 190 miles from Shreveport to Lafayette. Okay? All right, so if you still have some questions about how map scale works, that's okay, because this is actually a pretty hard skill for some people to get the first few times that they try it. So just keep practicing, and there is a link on the very last slide for this lesson for a site that will give you some practice with it on the computer. Now that one is for the whole world, so it's a little bit tricky and it involves a lot of math. You might want to get a calculator out for that, but it's good practice, okay? All right. Thanks, guys.